It's nice to meet you, Kasim.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. Thank you for like having me, really.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I like I don't listen to many book podcasts. And so when Kate was like, "Oh, here's this podcast," I sort of went back and listened, and you've got like so many episodes and so many people. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, really genuinely honored to be like part of it.
Oh, thank you. I always say it's very much a conversation, so it's absolutely fine if it goes off on a tangent because it always does. It always does.
Yeah, a
So
wonderful conversation can take you many places, right?
exactly. Even though I might get a little bit deep with you with your first
Okay, all
with my
right. If
first
you wanna,
question.
I'm happy to do that. I'm South Asian, all right. Me, every conversation you have is deep.
I think it's just an ethnic thing. It's like you just can't ask if your family asks how you doing, you're like, I'm fine. It's like, well, no, there's got to be more than just
There's
I'm
always
fine. It's
more.
got
There's
to be
always
an
more.
in-depth investigation.
Yeah.
All right, we will start. So, Kasim Ali, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Right. I said to you before, like, I'm gonna get all deep and personal with you. My first question, but it's not
Off the
that
bat. Off the
bad.
bat. Wow.
Off
Okay.
the
No, come on.
bat. Okay, so um, of your new book, Who Will Remain, and I was reading the dedication, and it said, "To the man I could have been if I wasn't such a coward." So my first question was like, who is Kasim Ali?
God. Okay. That is a big question.
It is.
Mostly, well, it's funny because it's a pseudonym, first of all. My name is actually Kasim Mohammed. But I thought, because I work in publishing, I thought they should be separate. So,
Yeah.
as an editor, I'm over here. As an author, I'm over here. So there's that very literal thing of like it's a pseudonym. It was my granddad's last name that I took. He like passed away in 2012. But who am I? Who am I? Like this person? I don't know really. I mean, like there's so many ways you can talk about that, right? Like I'm an editor. I'm an author. Okay, I'm a son and a nephew and like a grandchild and a brother. Okay, but also like I don't know. I That dedication is really interesting for you to pull out because I wasn't sure who to dedicate this book to,
Mm,
And at first, I was like thinking about should I dedicate this book to the young men of Alum Rock, for example, which is where the book is set, or should I dedicate it to my brother or my cousins or whoever? And then I just sort of thought that's so grandiose and so egotistical, right? Being like, this is for all of you, um, because is it really for all of them? I don't really know. It might be for some of them, and it might be for some people who are not them. And also, it just felt a bit condescending, I think, to say, "Oh, look, I've left Birmingham, gone to London, and I'm writing this thing for all of you." It just feels a little bit patronizing to me. So I then was just thinking about like why I wanted to write the book, and why I wanted to write it was because like essentially at particular moments in my life I could have made the decisions that Ahmed, my sort of main character, makes in this book, and I never did because I was too scared. I was like always like the coward, basically, because there were all these young boys and young men around me who were getting into gangs and selling
mm,
drugs and all kinds of, what I think we would generally term as like bad behavior, although I think that's like too simplistic. And I would see the money that they were making, and I would want that money so badly. I would want it so badly because we grew up like a lot of people in my community. You grow up like relatively poor. I mean, like my mom, she used to go to like 4 or 5 different supermarkets when we were young, and she used to have coupons, and she used to try to get different things from different places. And she's like carrying her kids with her. She doesn't have a car. She didn't have a car for a long while, actually. And so, yeah, it's like a really hard life, right? And you kind of want to, I don't know, ease the stress on your parents' life, but also kind of have some money
yeah.
yourself so you can buy certain clothes or go to the cinema or like
Mm,
just
just the little
buy a
things.
book. Yeah, like the small stuff that you just don't have the money for, like at all. And so I really wanted to, but I was so scared that someone was going to beat me up, or someone was going to stab me, or someone was going to, I don't know, do something terrible to me. So I never did. And so I spent a lot of my youth looking around with like deep envy at these other like boys who are, in my view, much bigger men than me, much braver men than me, because they were able to go do all these things. And I was just a little, idiot in the corner being like, oh, but I'm too scared. Um, and so that's why I put that dedication down, because I was like, this is actually kind of for the version of myself that I may have become if I wasn't just such a coward when I was younger.
Yeah. But I think that it does two things, one or two things to you, like in your adult life. It either drives you to do the thing
Mm.
that you really want to do, or it can keep you small.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's something that I've been grappling with my entire life, really, because I live in like I come from Alam Rock is such a small, contained immigrant community of mostly Pakistani Muslims who come from the same cluster of villages in Pakistan, right? Because
Mm,
like if you think about it, these people just went up like this, and then they came over to England over the 60s and the 70s, and they brought their families over, their wives, they had children, their children had children, everybody knows everyone. And so leaving is not really a thing that people do, right?
yeah,
They don't tend to leave. It's seen as almost like a betrayal of something, a betrayal of your family, of your community, of your people to leave. And so I've been grappling with that since I was 18, basically, since I left for university, because, for like many reasons, there's a lot of stuff going on, but mostly because I wanted to figure out who I was outside of my family, right? Like if
yeah,
you are constantly being referred to as someone's brother, someone's son, someone's nephew, then you have no idea who you actually are. You have
yeah.
like no idea who are you outside of all of that. And when I left for university, my parents were like deeply disappointed in me, like deeply disappointed.
Why
Um,
wouldn't they want? Isn't that what you want? Especially, I would say, like, I always hesitate to say immigrant parents, because I say I never felt like I was from an immigrant family. I'm just from a. It's just your family. But isn't that what
mm,
they want for you to like leave and lead a bigger life than what
no,
they're currently leaving? No.
no, not my family, really, really. What they wanted was for me to go to university, yes, but they wanted me to study what they wanted me to study, right? So they wanted me to study law or medicine because those are like good careers in their eyes.
Yeah.
Stay in Alum Rock, well, I mean, like my mom, right? When I was about, I want to say like 22 or 23, I started working in publishing properly, had a job, and I came home and, she was like, we were having a conversation about when I was going to come back home. And I kept saying to her, publishing as a career, I have to be in London, right? Because majority of publishing is in London. That's kind of how you make connections. That's how you be a good editor. Like I don't make the rules, like
That's how it works.
barely I'm just coming into it as like a tiny person. um and she's like really sad, and so I said to her, I was like, would it make you happy if I was to abandon my career, abandon my friends and the relationships and the network that I created in London, come back to Birmingham, do a PGCE, become a teacher, go teach at the same school that I went to, that she
Yeah.
went to, that all my cousins went to, marry the woman that you want me to marry, have like 2.5 children, and buy a house down the road, and then just live my life like that. And she just sort of laughed and was like, well, isn't that every mother's dream? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think
No.
so. I don't think it is. And she's never kind of left that. That's kind of been her whole thing, is just she wants her children to be very close to her. And I'll admit it's like incredibly suffocating. And
Yeah.
makes it like particularly hard to like go home, because it's yeah.
But it's fascinating though, because when you think about, you talk about your parents, and I think about my parents and my family, how they left their country, they
Yeah,
left their
yeah.
communities, they left everything they knew, that safety net, and they picked themselves up, moved to a completely different country. And
Mm,
to do that takes bravery, but you're leaving your safety net. So then for
mm.
that not to then follow through to your children and not understand why they would want to do that, even though you've done the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when my grandparents came over, my mom's parents came over in the 60s.
Mm,
they you know they were very much like, going to England will help lift us like collectively out of the poverty in Pakistan, right? Because we come from a
yeah,
very poor area of Pakistan, and they send money back. And my granddad, he like built a house there. And then when my dad came over in the 90s, it was a very similar kind of feel, right? I'm going to marry this woman who, it was an arranged marriage to my mom. And I will move over and I will like do the same thing. So I think for both of them, it was like for their families, right? It wasn't
yeah,
for themselves. I think that is the sticking point for my parents, is that they don't see me as doing this for my family. They see it as me doing it for myself. And if I'm doing it for myself, then it's narcissistic, it's selfish, it's ego, it's arrogance, it's pride. But for them, they did it for their family, therefore it was necessary. Do you see what I mean? Like it's,
yeah, I
I'm
do.
selfish, they're like selfless. Um, And that's the thing that gets in the way.
But it's so much pressure. And, I'm not saying they don't do it deliberately, but it's so much pressure for someone for you, anyone to have on them, thinking about, it's like you're questioning every action that you do, every decision that you make. Before you're not even making a decision, you're just questioning everything, every choice
Yeah,
that's presented to you. Like, am I doing this for me, or
constantly.
am I doing this to the family?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I like my siblings still live at home, right? A lot of my cousins do. Nobody really leaves. And it's really, really tough because I've had to unlearn all of that over the years. So like for a long time, maybe I shouldn't get too personal, but you got personal first, so it's fine.
Sorry.
I I used to give them money. So I wasn't earning very much. Publishing is not, for like a handful of people, it can be a very financially beneficial industry to work in, but not for the most of us. Um and I used to send them money, and they didn't need it because, my dad paid our mortgage off. It took him like 30 years, but he did it. And him and my mom work, and my brother works, and my sister works. So like four people inside this house where there's no mortgage, and it's in Birmingham, so it's not crazy expensive.
London prices.
Yeah, it's not London prices at all. And I used to come home every month, every 4 weeks, like clockwork. And if my mom was like, I want to go grocery shopping and end up spending £75 on like the weekly food shop, like I would pay for it. Or I would pay for like if they wanted to get takeout, I would pay for it. Or I would give my mom some money because she like wanted something, or wherever it might be. And it years and years and years, it was this like cognitive dissonance thing of like, I used to go home and my parents would say, why don't you have enough money to buy a house, at the very same time that they would say, well, give me 200-300 pounds. And I'm like, and it didn't occur to me for such a long time, until I was talking to a friend of mine who was like a child psychotherapist. And she's like studied for years and years, uh, and it was her who broke through to me, and she was like, "Well, just think about it. How are you supposed to save for a house
Well,
if you're giving them
if you give your money
all your,
away.
yeah, if you're giving your savings away every month, you save £200 and then you give it to your parents. Like, how are you supposed to?" And it sort of like really shocked me. And then I had a conversation with my parents where I was like, "This doesn't make any sense. It's completely contradicting itself, right? These two things."
Yeah.
And then they called me selfish.
Oh,
So
it's
it's like, yeah, complicated.
no, it is. It's complicated, but I understand it. But also, like, it's fascinating. Like, it also, I think what it shows to me is that you do need to leave. People need to leave and experience the world before they make a decision about where they want to be in the world, if that makes
I
sense.
really believe so. I mean, my brother is 6 years younger than me, and when he went to university, I told him to leave. I said, I think try to find who you are outside of the family, like, and in like really like grounded ways too, like figure out, do you know how to budget your life? Do you know how
Yeah.
to work with money? Do you know how to save? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to clean? Do you know how to take care of yourself? Because when you're at home and my mom is doing all of that for you, well, then you have no incentive to learn, right? But I had to learn all of that stuff when I left to go live away for university. And so I said all of this to him, and then he sort of listened, didn't say anything, and then he was like, "I'm not going to do that actually, because unlike you, like I love my family." And I was like, "Whoa,
Whoa. But
that's
that's
too
not
too
even what you're
far,
saying. It
too far."
but it's the thing, like making a decision for yourself, for where enhancing yourself in whatever way that may be, whether it's spiritually, financially, geographically, making that decision for yourself, it doesn't mean that you're neglecting or you don't want the best for your
Mm.
family.
I
It's
mean, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time, but
well, you
I don't
said
know.
it. It reminds me of, like,
I'll,
I've said this story before, like on the podcast. When I was teaching in a law school, and I had this student, and it was it was weird. I said on a Friday, because the law school it's in London, and on the Friday, for some reason, I'd taken over in this class, but it seemed to be all the students who hadn't gone to like the red brick universities. They hadn't gone to the Oxbridge. They were the working class students. It was that sort of class. And I remember it was a Friday, first class I taught, and this Asian young man came up to me and he said, Nadine, and he's been in uni, he's been at law school 4 weeks, his first week. And he said, before I came to your class, because I was going to leave, I was thinking of leaving. I was like, well, why were you going to leave? And he said, because, he grew up born and lived in East London, went to school, went to college in East London. He went to university in East London. He had it so for 18 years, more than that, 21 years, all your
Mm.
formative years. He hasn't been outside his community. And then he left. He obviously graduated. He has to go to law school. The law school he has to go to is in the city of London. So he comes to the city of London. He's in Holborn, and it's the first time that he's now in contact with, I say, different classes of people. He's now in contact with those who went to Oxford and Cambridge and different socioeconomic communities. And it took a while. He couldn't adjust to it. It was like it shell shocked him until he
Mm.
goes, I saw you, and then I saw other people, and I realized actually, no, I can fit in here, and I can see where you're from, and that you become solicitor. So he knew there was a path for him. So it's important for you to get out, because your world can be it's comfortable, but it can be so small.
Yeah, yeah, like I know so many people like that young man, because Alan Rock is filled with people like that. And I think that the danger is like they may have ambitions of leaving, but
Mm,
are scared of doing so because it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable to have to take care of yourself, be away from your family. I mean, like, my parents are always talking about me leaving as if it was some easy thing to do. But, like, I miss them a lot, and I miss the
yeah.
place that I'm from, and uh, all kinds of things, right? And I was talking to a friend of mine about how when you have a family that is, to put it simply, as unsupportive as mine, which is to say, I know that if I was to lose my job, my parents wouldn't be like the nicest people on the planet about it. um and like when you're in a situation like that, it's like really hard. It's like really lonely sometimes as well, because you're kind of surrounded by people, mostly my friends. They have really good relationships with their families, right? And they may live away from them, but they have this sort
Mm,
of understanding that if something was to happen, they could call their mom or their dad up, and like they would come and try and help them. Whereas I know that if I did that, my parents would just say like, well, we told you so, why did you leave? Like, go figure it out yourself, right? And so it is like it's really difficult to be in that position, because you have to be completely self-sustaining, in a way that most people don't have to be. And it's really difficult. But then the other side of it is you just really learn who you are, and you learn how to be
yeah.
ambitious. And I don't mean financially ambitious only, like ambitious in the sense of like your relationships and the kind of person you want to be and the things you want to learn. And like, I had never traveled when I was at home with my family because we were too poor to do so. But also my parents were very much like, traveling is like not for us. We don't travel. Why would we want to go to like
But you
Paris?
traveled. You had to
But
get here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy, right? It's like crazy. But like my parents are now like, oh no, we don't go anywhere. We just stay here. And so like I didn't travel until I was like 27, and then at 27 I went to Paris for the first time, and I was like the most obnoxious person, because when I came back I was like, do you guys know Paris is like wonderful? And then everyone's like, yeah, yes we
Hold
do.
on.
Yes, we do know. And I went
Did
to
you
New
do
York,
school
and
trips? When you're
no,
15, you do like a school trip to France.
we
Like,
didn't we didn't
and you,
have we didn't have
and
the
you,
money. We didn't have the money. So
oh, so what's
yeah,
New
it
York
was
like for you?
New York was okay. Not my best trip. It was very expensive. It was the week that Liz Truss kind of killed the economy. So
Oh God.
it's very, very expensive. And I went to Italy, which was like lovely. So I've only been like three places, and I'm slowly trying to figure out where else I want to go. And understanding I have the time, I don't have to do like 20 places in one year. But yeah, it's just like I've now had experiences that my parents probably might never have because they don't want to. So like I'm all for people just stepping out.
I'm all for people traveling and just trying new things and just seeing what happens and finding yourself. But what's it like? I mean, you want to know any different, but what's it like when you do go to, you're going to Paris and you're going to New York and all of these places? Are you arriving at these places thinking, why didn't I do this earlier? Are you like fascinated by the world? Or is it different because you,
Yeah.
you see the world anyway, like the
No, no,
social
no. I'm
media?
like yeah, when I went to Paris, it was sort of extraordinary actually, because I hadn't been on a plane for such a long time because my parents are very like anti-holiday, but we go to Pakistan, right? They go to Pakistan to
It's
like
because you're going
visit
home.
family
That's what it is.
because they're
You're
going
just going
home. Yeah,
home. That's
yeah,
not a
it's not a
holiday.
holiday. No, it's you're going home, and like the handful of times I've been with my dad, I've just sat in his family home for like 4 weeks while he's gone out and about and he's like had fun with his friends.
Oh,
He just leaves his kids at home with his mom, and then you're just sort of there like, great, cool, can't really do anything because I don't know how to drive because I'm a kid, and also like he won't drive us anywhere. He's just having his own fun anyway. Um, so yeah, it was like getting to Paris, you like see everything that you have seen before on TV, you
mm,
read about it in like books. People have told you, people have shown you photos, like people you know, but going there and like, I don't know, there was something about like hearing the French, like actually hearing like French people speak, um, and like having the pastries and like seeing the Eiffel Tower, that kind of, it was just such a moment of wonder and like genuine euphoria for me. I loved it so much. Um, and it was similar in New York too, even though it was really expensive. Walking around and seeing like Times Square, for example, or Central Park, or even just like, this is very silly, but my flatmate and I, my very good friend of mine, we love the cinema, and so we went to the AMC cinemas in New
yeah.
York, and we there's like a Nicole Kidman ad that is like goes
Oh yeah.
viral, and it's like,
I know
yeah,
the
yeah,
one.
yeah. And it's like only available in America, right? So I've seen it on like Twitter or whatever, but like sitting there in the cinema and that ad came on, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm in America. Um, so it's just like, I feel like a real childlike wonder and joy every time I do something.
I think
Um,
that's amazing though. But I remember the first time I went to New York with my brother. I was 17 and he would have been 16. I think we went for 4 weeks because my mum's and my dad actually we're aunts and uncles there. So we went for 4 weeks. And me and my brother, we went out one day. We're going to the cinema. Because when you're growing up, all you see is American cinema and then popcorn and butter popcorn. And you're
yes.
like, oh, we're gonna get the butter pop. Oh my god. We got the popcorn. We're like, yeah, we'll have the butter popcorn, thinking it's gonna be something amazing. We were like, this is horrible.
Yes,
Where's
I
the
had the same experience.
we're like, where's the sweet? Where's the salt? This is horrible.
I had the exact same experience. Me and my flatmate, we got like a large popcorn and like two drinks to
Yeah,
share between us. And not only were their drinks like huge, like bigger
yeah.
than my head, they were so big. The popcorn itself was like, it was like cardboard. I was like, what am I eating? And they drizzled on like salt, like was it caramel or something? I can't remember. But they put something on the top and it was like disgusting and sticky. And so we just didn't eat it. We just left it. And then like we were
You didn't
trying
eat
to
ours.
drink this big drink, but it was disgusting, and also it was so much that I was like, if I drink any more of this, I'm gonna have to like go to the toilet halfway through the film. It's just stupid. And I remember my flatmate, actually, she always tells this story. I'm from Birmingham, right? So I'm like a big Cadbury's person. Like our
Yeah,
family's big Cadbury's person, and so I bought in like a bodega or whatever the hell they call those little places, the little shops. I bought like just like a dairy milk, just like a
I know what you're gonna
classic
say.
purple bar.
I know what you're
Oh
gonna say.
my God, it was the most foul thing I've ever eaten. It was like dry and powdery and absolutely
I
disgusting.
would I always say it tastes dusty. Like
Yes, it
that's
tasted
the only word I have. It tastes dusty.
like chalk in my mouth, and I was like, this is, I'm so upset. And then on the plane on the plane back, we went from I can't remember, maybe it was JFK, but we had like a layover in Dublin, and then from Dublin to Heathrow, right? So like
Yeah.
that's what we did. So on the plane heading to Ireland, I was like in the airplane, and this woman comes down and she's like, does anybody want anything from the trolley? And I was like, do you have like British chocolate? To which she then says to me, well, we have Irish chocolate. And I was
You're like, that
like,
will do.
I don't care. Is it like from not America? And she was like, yes. She's looking at me so confused. And she gives me this tiny 4 square pack of like dairy milk, and I take it and I eat it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm coming home. This is this is wonderful.
I told you go off on a tangent. When me and my brother went, we went because my aunt she lived in Brooklyn and there's a corner shop Could be a bodega on the corner. Yeah, it's on the corner. So we went to the shop
Yeah.
thinking, oh, we're going to try Hershey bars because you always hear about Hershey bars.
Oh,
So we think it's going to be amazing. And we went to the shop, bought the Hershey bars, came back, like we're eating the Hershey bar, and we was like, this is horrible. This is horrible. This isn't like our chocolate. And I remember thinking, oh, I know I saw a Kit Kat in the shop. Let's just go and get a Kit Kat because the Kit Kat's just a Kit Kat. We got the Kit Kat. Disgusting. And then
no. Yeah.
we got the Twix. Disgusting. We just like, no.
What is there's something wrong with America. I just, there's lots of things wrong with America, but I don't know what's going on with their food. Like I remember we bought like a pack of strawberries, and they look like the most delicious strawberries you've ever seen in your life. So red, so juicy. And then like we took them home and we ate them, and I was like, this tastes like nothing. It's like eating water. It was like there was no taste to it.
No.
This is the most upsetting. Anyway, New York, you may never see me again, but I enjoyed being there for a little bit of time.
The food, yeah. I remember when I came home, before I left, I said to my cousins, I'm going to send you British chocolate and I'm sending you British tea because you need to understand why I made one of my aunties walk around all these supermarkets until we found tea. And then she found me Tetley, and I was so happy because
Oh,
I couldn't. And then I sent them the tea and I sent them the chocolates. And now they're like, when you send it, even now, all these years later, you need to send us more tea because I told
yeah. I
you.
mean, they're suffering over there. They're suffering. I'm sorry.
So let's talk about your well, I was gonna say your writing, but also like your publishing journey. So how did you find your way to publishing?
In terms of like working in it or like being published, which
Working in it, and then we'll do the because
okay,
you
cool,
have
sure.
two
There's
journeys.
two. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Working in publishing is really sometimes I can't believe I actually have this job. Um, because yeah, like from Alum Rock, right, from Birmingham, no one in my family reads, literally nobody. Like my auntie, she read for school and college, and she has like a few classics, but like other than that, no one really reads. And I remember going to university and coming back and trying to figure out what to do with myself, right? So I'm like,
Mm.
I have an English degree. Should I become a teacher? I hate kids. How do I use this to like do anything? Just no, truly, I could not teach. I
No,
tutored for
that's a different skill.
yeah, like I tutored for the first year of university, right? Thinking I would become a teacher at the end of it. So I was like, I'll tutor and it will like, help me. I
Yeah.
got so angry because I would walk in and I'd say like, oh, this is a simile. And they'd be like, what is that? And I'm like, how do you not know what a simile is? And then my friend who did also tutor, she was like, the point is you're supposed to teach them what a simile is. You're not supposed to walk in and say, how do you not already know? So I was like,
Why do
okay,
you not know this stuff?
I don't have the skill set for this. I don't have the patience. So I came back and I was trying to figure out what to do. And then I worked for 6 months at Curry's PC World, which was, I have so many stories of like hell from there. And I got so annoyed one week. I just had the worst week working there. And I just typed in like, how do I work in publishing? And there was this creative access place that popped up, which is a really good internship company, which essentially partners with loads of businesses across the creative sector. So it's not just publishing, it's also music and TV and film and
Yeah.
radio and podcasts, all kinds of places. And their whole thing is like trying to broaden accessibility. So it's about race and ethnicity, yes, but also about like sexuality and if you're a trans person or non-binary, or also class. So like if you are from those sort of underrepresented communities, shall we say, then you're eligible to apply for those internships. And so I applied for two, interviewed at both, and I got one of them, and it was at Faber and Faber. And I remember I was I was like in the gym on the treadmill running when I got this phone call, and I picked it up like breathing really heavy. And she was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just on the
No.
treadmill." And she was like, "Yeah," but she was like, "Do you want to get off the treadmill?" And I was like, "No, about it. Just like, what's up?" And then she like gave me the job. At which point, I then nearly fell off the treadmill. And I had like a week. I had a week to like move to London and find a place. And yeah, my parents were very, like not the best about it. And so I worked there for 6 months, and then I worked in Waterstones for a little while because I was trying to find a job, and then I ran out of money, and I had to move back to back home. And then I got a job working at a very small independent publisher in Nottingham, where I worked for like 2.5 years, and that was very hard but also good because it was such a small company you ended up doing like 8 different jobs. So you
Do
weren't just an
everything.
editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like everyone is doing everything all the time. So I learned so much from working there. And then yeah, I applied for a lot of jobs in like the last year and a half of working there, and then got a job at Penguin where I worked for 3 years, and then somehow got a job at Amazon working in their publishing house, which is like not many people know it exists, but it exists and it makes lots of
Yeah.
money. So I worked there for 2 years, and then I had to leave because it's not. Let's just say it's not the best place to work, even if they pay you lots and lots of money. And then I took a few months off because I was just trying to figure out like what I wanted to do with myself and whether publishing was for me. You know, being Pakistani and Muslim, you're visibly different from everybody else, but then
Mm,
also there's the massive class issue, right? Like
yeah.
a lot of people in publishing are middle class and they've been educated in a way that I've not been educated, and they know so much that I don't know. And after a while, it gets really exhausting because you feel like you're having to explain yourself over and over and
Yeah.
over again. And after a while, you're just, I mean, like, I remember having a conversation with someone where she was talking about how I should, and this was a South Asian woman actually. She was talking about how I should get rid of the working class chip of like on my shoulder. She was like, "You should get rid of that because you know you're not the only working class person here." My mother worked very hard to put me and my sister through private school. To which I then was like, "I don't
Well,
know that that's the same.
it's so not the same. It's like Kemi Badenoch saying that she was working class because she worked in McDonald's. It's like, mate, that is not the same thing. That
That's
is
not
not
the
what
same
just
thing."
because you had a job.
Doesn't make you working class. And like, I appreciate, you know, like your mom worked very hard, but you went to private school. Like, that's not you weren't working class. Like, if she had a spare 70 grand a year to send both of you to private school, I
Yeah.
don't know that you're working class, you know? Anyway, so
That's
I like,
that's a, like that's like a household salary for a lot of
that's
people. Income,
more
that's like
money than I
household
will ever.
income. Yeah.
It's crazy, crazy to me that people think like that. So I took some time off to try to figure out, like, you know, do I want to work in this industry? Should I pivot? What should I pivot to? What should I become? You know, what can I do? What skills do I have? Um, and then I sort of realized that I love publishing. I love publishing, and also, if I leave this industry, then there's one less working class
Mm,
non-white editor, right? And that's just bad. That's just bad. And so I should try. And so earlier this year, I was yeah, I applied for like a handful of jobs, and now I'm working at Bonnier Books, trying to do what I really want to do, and I'm really lucky because the team that I'm in has allowed me the space to bring, you know, whatever sort of author or book that I think is, you know, commercially relevant, which is to say, you know, we want to sell a certain number of books, we want to make a certain number of money, of course, of course, of course, but like I'm allowed to bring different kinds of people to the table and they'll take me seriously because that's kind of what they've hired me for. So my hope is it's I've only been there for like 5 months, but my hope is that over time here I can build something really interesting and really open and try to get like more people to the table than maybe someone else who, you know, whose working class mother sent them to private school might not.
it's, I shouldn't laugh, but
No,
telling
you
someone
can
to
laugh.
no, I can't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. But telling someone to get the working class chip off your shoulder when you've been put through, you've had a level of entitlement and privilege that you just either choosing to ignore or
Yeah.
I suppose thinking that because we may look the same, then
Mm.
how can our experiences like be different? Like you're putting us all down.
Yeah, I mean she was a fascinating person because I think she assumed that because she was Pakistani, because she was South Asian, then that was it. That was like, you know, I'm now like a member of like an underrepresented community. Therefore, everyone is like me. We're all the same. And so when I used to, you know, speak to her about the sort of cultural gap between me and so many other people in publishing, she'd be like, "Oh, I just don't understand. I like don't get it. Like, what's your problem? What's?" And she would put it on me. She would like put the responsibility of closing that gap on me. And I sort of learned like over a few months of like having the same conversation with her. I was like, "Oh, you're not a person to talk to about this because
Yeah.
visually we look very similar because we're both Pakistani, great, But like actually when we talk and we sit down and we have a conversation, we couldn't be more different because you're like here and I'm here.
In a funny way, we were talking like earlier about, being in your comfort zones and not leaving your environment. It's probably like the flip side for her. She's been in this environment and this circle for so long. She hasn't been
Mm,
exposed to anyone else. She hasn't been, because there's different layers to us as
yeah,
well. Whether you're Pakistani, whether you're Chinese, whether you're Grenadian, there's different layers to the community. So within that community, you are going to have people of different economic classes. There's always the whole, I'm saying that the whole colorism thing. Also
mm,
within this, there's so many different layers to it. And so if you're just in your little
absolutely.
tight circle, you're not exposed to it. So you're probably like she's coming at it at maybe like the same angle like you did, like in the beginning.
Yeah, I very much think she is. But it's like for me, the thing is I don't judge people for not having had access to something, right? For
Yeah.
not having seen something or been part of something, whatever that might be. What I do find very hard though is when they're confronted with that and then they choose to react in that way, right? So
Mm.
then it's like, oh, I'm not saying you're a terrible person because you're middle class. I'm not
But
saying I'm a better person that because I'm a working class person, but you are not
it's the but.
accepting that. You're not, yeah, there's always a but. It's like you're not like allowing me to be that person in this space. You're like expecting me to. And I think, what makes it tough is I don't have a Birmingham accent. I lost it a very long time ago. And I think when people meet me, especially within the context of publishing, because so many black and brown people in publishing are educated in that way. Like they've gone to
Mm.
Oxford or Cambridge and they're sort of middle class. So they kind of expect that from you and they just don't, I think the working class thing really throws them because they're like, you don't sound it. And also like, I've met 4 different people and they all went to Oxford. So why didn't you also go to Oxford? I can't believe we're hiring South Asian people who didn't go to Oxford. And you're like, this is bonkers. What's like,
It is bonkers.
what?
It is bonkers. But it's not just publishing. Like it's also like so my background's law. It's also in law as
I think
well.
it's kind of,
It's like
honestly,
it's
I
these
think it's
sort of
everywhere.
careers. Yeah, yeah, it's everywhere. So how did you find your way to writing? Because it's one thing, because you could argue that your way to publishing is like you was looking for a job, like you're wondering what to do, and I'm just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So how did you find your way to writing when you said no one in your family, no one was reading books?
Yeah, I think like I have very vivid memories of my mom sort of taking me to the library.
Mm.
And I think the reason she used to do that was so that she could have some peace. So she could be like, okay, you just go over there and I'll sit here for like 45 minutes and I don't have to think about having
It's
kids because my kids are
quiet.
like running around. Um, and that really helped, like having access to books. And then my auntie, who I mentioned before, she sort of recognized it in me and started buying me books and sort of,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
good.
every so often. I remember we would go to God. I remember we went to a car boot sale once, and she bought. There was this little kid standing with like a crate of books, and I think each book was like 50p or something, and there were about 40 books in there. And so I did the quick math, and I was like, "Oh, it's like 20 quid. I think I think it's 20 quid for like the whole box." And she was like, "Shut up, shut up." I was like, "Whoa, what have I done?" And she goes up to this kid, and she's like, "Hello, could I buy this box, please?" And he was like, "Oh, my dad's not here." And she was like, "Yeah, I mean, your dad would be really happy if he came back and you'd sold
Oh,
this box of books. I'm going to give you £5 for it." So she gave him £5. He accepted it, this little kid. And I'm there being like, it's £20. This woman is lying to you. But then I got a box of books at the end of the day. So I guess I wasn't too mad about that. So yeah, my auntie, great negotiator. And so I did a lot of
poor
like
kid.
reading when I was a kid. I know, I know. I think about that often actually. I wonder like what happened when his dad came back.
Can you imagine where are the books? I
Yeah.
got a fiver. And when you're little, like a fiver's probably like it's loads of money. You think you're
It's
rich.
so
I got
much money.
£5.
£5
Oh,
for these
bless him.
dusty books. Um and yeah, so I read a lot. And then, there was the school library that I went to. There was the library outside of school that I went to. And I just wrote a lot because it's at a certain point, I think, for writers, or at least the writers that I know, you kind of transition from like just being a reader to then wanting to do the writing your own.
Yeah.
like your own stuff. And that doesn't happen for every person who loves to read, but it happens to a lot of writers. And so that just happened to me, where I was like, oh, I want to write some stuff now. So I wrote like short stories, very small things, but I didn't really get into it until I was at university and started writing properly. And it was a lot of young adult stuff, because it was a lot of stuff that I was reading. And it wasn't until I was about 21, 22 that I read like Zadie Smith and Mohsin Hamid and
Mm.
Salman Rushdie for the first time. And then I was like, oh, I can write about myself. Like, it never really
It's
occurred to me before.
But the thing is, it's not going to unless you're exposed to it. It's like, and it sounds always cliche to say, you can't be what you can't see, but it's so true. If you don't see writing, if you're not picking up a book and turning it over and seeing someone who looks like
Yeah,
you, then you're not going to
yeah,
think that it's possible.
absolutely. And also, sort of culturally, I grew up, and you see a lot of, like, the majority of things I'm watching are like white people. And then the only sort of non-white things that I'm watching are either black people from America mostly, or some black
Mm.
people from Britain, or like a lot of Indian stuff, like
Yeah,
Bollywood,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so then you're kind of like, oh, well, I'm not Indian and I'm not black and I'm not white. And so then you just think that maybe there's no space. I felt like,
yeah,
oh, maybe people don't want to hear this. And then when I read Mohsin Hamid, especially because he's a Pakistani writer, I was like, oh, like maybe there's like space actually for me to like try to write about different sorts of things. And that's when I started to try to figure out my voice. And I got rejected thousands of times. I had Good Intentions, which is my first book
mm.
that was published, was my 22nd novel that I'd written.
20
And all the other
seconds.
ones, yeah, I just loved, I love writing. I love writing. I do it all the time. I'd write pretty much every day. And yeah, they just all got rejected over and over again. And I never, like, sometimes I'd get really sad about it, because I'd be like, oh, I thought I wrote something good, but it's been rejected by like 10 or 15 agents. I should stop. I take a break, but then like the urge to write would come back to me. So then
Mm.
I just start doing it for fun, and then I'd finish another book, and then I would think, okay, maybe I'll do it again. I'll try again, and then I get rejected, and I just kept going. Like I don't know. I felt like I don't know. I feel like I can't really stop. And
Yeah.
I want to do this. And alongside the writing, my publishing career, like, I was working really hard at that, trying to figure that out. So it felt like they were both chugging along at the same time. I was trying to figure both of them out. And then, ironically, it was the year that I got the job at Penguin, and I was able to move back to London. After working in that place in Nottingham, that I also got an agent, and it felt like those two things happened within the space of like a couple of months. And I remember just feeling so like, whoa, like something is speaking to me here, right? Like
Something's out
something
there in
is,
the universe is
yeah,
working in
it's
your
some like,
favor.
and yeah, from there, like, published the first book in 2022, and then the second book a couple of months ago. But it was like a lot of hard work. It was a lot of like trying to figure my voice out, trying to figure out the stories I want to tell. And like, I've talked about this in other places, but I don't feel completely comfortable with my first book. Like, there are so many things I wish I
Really?
could change.
With good
Yeah,
intentions?
I wrote it when I was 24, and so now as like a 31-year-old, I look back on it and I'm like, oh, I wish I had like changed this or added this, or like made more of this bit, or so much. And it's still being read to this day, which is, I mean, it's only been 3 years, but like, it's still really nice to see that people are reading it. But like, some people are just like, why did you do it like this? And I'm like, I know, I wish I hadn't done it like that. Like, if I was doing it
Oh,
right now, I would do it differently.
I think that's
But
like
yeah,
anything though. Anything you like, if you're looking back, you're like, you know what? If I had my chance again, I would probably change this. I don't think it's just something's just
no,
restricted to
yeah, we're
your book.
constantly changing as people. No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, but yeah, it's just, it was quite difficult to kind of accept that I
Mm.
wrote it when I was 24. I'm not a bad person for having written what I now think is not the best version of that book. Yes, I would love to change it. It's okay that I can't. And what I can focus on is like the next thing, right? The
Yeah.
next book, and like,
You always want to do better. And I mean, I had to tell myself this the other day, like working on my book, and I had to say to myself, look, there's nothing wrong with wanting it to be better than what you've done before. You should always want to be improving yourself and being
Yeah,
Moving beyond your past.
absolutely, and that's kind of what I do as an editor too. Is like I try to push my authors to challenge themselves with every book that
Yeah.
we work on together, because to stay static and to stay in the same space, I don't know, like it can work, and your readers might love you for it. But I just think as an author, or at least the authors that I want to work with, like let's challenge ourselves, right? Let's
Mm.
grow a little bit. Let's like move something a little further. And I try to do the same thing with myself. Like my first and second book are completely they're very different.
They are.
Um,
They're complete.
and
They are completely different.
yeah.
Like I think if you walk into a bookshop, good intentions. I don't know. I know if you go on like Waterstones, whatever, they'll put it like romance, contemporary
Hmm.
fiction, whereas Who Will Remain is more, I don't know, literary, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a little bit literary. It's like edgier and darker, and
Yeah.
sharper as well. So it's they're very different. They're very different.
Coming of
And
age, I don't know, but yeah, they are different. But I think that's
yeah,
a
I
good
mean, like,
thing to be.
yeah, I like the next thing that I'm working on is also completely different, and who knows if it will get published? I don't know, but I just wanted to work on it, and for a little while, I sort of thought, but what do people expect of me? And then I was like, I just don't care what people expect of me. Like, what do I expect of me? And what I
Yeah,
expect of me is to challenge myself and to grow and to be better and to write about the things that are like really important to me. And if that's what I'm doing, well, then everything else can wait, right? Everything else can like come down the line at some point, whenever. But for now, it's got to be about what brings me like joy
yeah.
and yeah, yeah.
Well, if you have to sit, I mean, it's one thing doing your, I'm trying to say it in a way that doesn't sound like you're doing your job, but it's one thing doing your job as an editor. But
Mm.
if you're doing your other job as a writer and you're sitting there in front of your, whatever you're sitting there in front of your laptop or a notepad and pen, and you're sitting there for hours, it has to be giving you some kind of joy. I mean, obviously, there's going to be the pain when you can't get the words out, because that's just writing life. But overall, the fact that you're working on this story and it's a story that you want to tell, it has to be giving you joy in some capacity.
Yeah, and I feel personally, even in the pain points where and for me the pain is, and I don't know if this is your experience too, the difficulty is never necessarily about, oh, I can't write something. It's just about like, oh, I've got this vision of something in my head,
Yeah,
and like it's not feeling that way when I'm writing it. It's like, and what I always find is when I'm in that moment, I just have to write through it, because I always just think, well, you know what, those 1,000 words are probably the most terrible words ever written. Who cares? I'll cut them out when I come back,
yeah. No,
reshape
honestly,
them, make them better.
but sometimes I think that's sometimes the best advice like you can give someone. Just write through it. It's like kind of like write through the pain, and then you go back to it, and you might look back at it and think, actually, this wasn't so bad, or look back and think, no, this is terrible. It needs to go. But you're
And
not
but then
losing anything from yourself.
absolutely, absolutely. You just have to, I
Mm.
think people can get very, some writers can be very like perfection oriented about stuff. So they
Mm,
want everything, they want every paragraph and every page and every chapter to read a very specific way before they move on. And when I meet those writers, I just think, oh, that would stress me out so much, because like if I'm
yeah,
constantly thinking about, does this paragraph feel right? I'm never going to finish the book. To me, it's got to be just like right at the speed, whatever speed you want to write at, but like finish it and then go back and see if it fits the vision you had in your head. And if it doesn't, well, then maybe one, like the one question you should ask is, um, does it have to fit the vision I had in my head, or did it change along the way? Did
yeah,
something change in me along the way? But like once you've figured that out, then just start editing, start cutting. I mean, like there are so many writers I know who are like, "Oh God, I would never cut this thing," and I'm like, "Oh no, to me, I'm cutting everything. I don't care. Like if I can, if I'm making this better through cutting, I'm happy with that, because
yeah.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, if it's gonna make the book better, why not?"
I know it does take a while to get there, even if you're a seasoned writer and your editor. And it's like I know my editor, she knows what she's doing. She does know what she's doing. But when they make that first suggestion of you need to cut this, you're like, how dare you? What do you mean I need to cut it?
It's
Like,
so funny, because maybe it's my background in editing, but if somebody tells me to edit something, what I feel then is like an engagement with the work. So I'm like, oh my God, you like read it. And not only did you read it, but you thought about
oh
it
no,
and
I
have
ain't
said
thinking
it.
that at all.
Oh,
except after, except once I have to work my way around it, and then when I'm like, okay, I've tried to keep it in 2, 3, 4 times, and I'm like, no, it needs to go, and I'm like, okay, you're right. It just something, sometimes just takes you a little while to get there,
no,
to
that's
be on
fair.
the same page.
We've all got different relationships with it. I think it's just my background as an editor. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I just, I'm so collaborative as an editor. I love the engagement with the work and like just
yeah.
sitting there and being in it. So I love being edited. Yeah, absolutely.
Before I ask you about Who Will Remain, how did your family respond to the fact that you were a writer? Did you tell them? Or did you just say, when the book's published, I have a book?
No, so they kind of knew, but I I'm gonna paint them in such a bad way here, but it's kind of the truth, so that kind of has to stand on its own.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. They just were like, yeah, whatever, you just do this little thing, fine. And I have this like very foundational memory, this foundational memory, which maybe colored my relationship with my parents and my writing, which was I was handwriting when I was like 10 or 11, like a book about a precocious kid who was like too smart for his own good or whatever. Very Jimmy Neutron. I don't know if you ever watched that
Yeah.
cartoon. Anyway, and I was sort of writing it, so I was like handwriting it every evening before I went to bed. I would write like a page, and so there was a pile of these pages on my desk. And my mom, one day, she's a very antsy, restless person, and if she gets very restless, she will just start cleaning things that she should not clean. And so she
I
came
know what you're
into
gonna say.
yeah, she came into me and my brother's room and cleaned, and she like moved things around. And me and my brother came home and we were like, oh, mom's at it again. She's like moved all these things. So we're like moving them back. And I'm sort of looking around and I'm like, where are my pages? And I'm like opening drawers. And she hasn't put them in any drawers. I'm like looking underneath the bed. I'm like looking everywhere. And so I go downstairs and I'm like, hey, mom, like there were these pile of pages on my desk. Where are they? She's like, I threw them away. I was like,
Oh,
what? And I like cried. I remember crying. And she
guys.
like, yeah, she didn't understand why I was crying. She was like, didn't they need to go in the bin? I was like, no, that was like my work. And she was like, it was your homework. And I was like, no. I was like, the stuff I was writing. And she was like, oh, your doodles. Yeah, I threw them in the bin. And I was like, no. And I couldn't get her to understand that like I was working on something. And then after that, I like just did not engage with anybody in my family about my writing because I was like, they just see it as doodles that like get thrown into the bin. Um, and then I didn't tell them about the rejections. I didn't tell them about any of it. I only told my parents, and this is so funny. At least I find it funny. Maybe you won't find it funny. But when I got the call about the publishing deal with Fourth Estate, I was gobsmacked, right? Because it was
Yeah.
Fourth Estate. I couldn't believe that I was being published by such an incredible publisher. And my agent was like, "Are you going to tell your parents?" And I was like, "No, we're going to sign the contract, right? So I know it's happening. It's legally binding. We've signed the contract, and then I will tell them because the last thing I want to do is tell them I have this thing, and then for some reason it
It
disappears,
doesn't
right?"
happen, yeah.
So we signed the contract. I get the confirmation, and I'm like, cool, now I can tell them. So I called my mom, and it was like pandemic times because it was the summer of 2020, and I wasn't able to go home because we weren't allowed to like travel.
Mm.
So I had to call them. So I'm calling my mom. She picks up. It's like a Saturday or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, mom, is like dad there?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, he is. What's up?" And I'm like, "Could you put it on speakerphone, please?" And she's like, "Okay, is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Just got some news. Don't worry about it." She's like, "Oh, what have you done? What's wrong?" And I was like, "No, don't worry about it. Just like put it on speakerphone." So she goes and finds my dad, puts it on speakerphone. He's like, "Hello, son. What's up?" And I was like, "Okay." Right, I've got some news, and I'm like so excited, and I've got it. I'm like got my headphones in, and I'm like pacing my room, and I was like, oh, I sold a book. Like I'm an author. I wrote this book and someone bought it and they bought it for like way more money than I thought it would. I thought it would sell for like £5 and it actually sold for like this much money. Um, and like, it's so exciting. This dream has come true. Ah, and then there's like silence. And I was like, hello? Hello? Can you hear me? As the signal dropped, hello? Shall I move around? And my mom's like, no, we can hear you. That's nice.
Oh,
And then my dad was like, "Do you get all of that money now?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's
No.
like in chunks and it comes over years." And he was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And then my mom goes, "Anyway, your sister, she just bought a new car. You should talk to her about it. I'll go get her." And then she goes and gets my sister and is like, "Kasim wants to talk to you about your car." And then my sister talked to me about this new car she'd bought. And I was like,
Not even,
I
hold
don't
on,
know,
so not even like you need to talk to your sister and tell her about your deal, but I'm gonna put your sister on so she can tell you about her new
about
car,
her car.
not
And then
about
so my
you
sister's
and
like,
your amazing book deal.
so my sister then, I mean, like she, in her defense, she don't know what happened. So she's like, "Oh, I bought this car. I'm so happy. Oh, like it's got like a touch screen and it's got 6 gears." And I was like, "I'm so happy for you. That's so cool.
That's great.
Like,
Yay.
great." And then before I could tell her about the book deal, she was like, "Anyway, I have to go. I'm gonna go drive my friend around in this car." And she hung up on me.
Oh, do you celebrate
So
before I ask you yet about who will make, but do you celebrate your moments like with
I
yourself, with
I
your
find
friends?
I find it very difficult to actually because I'm always a little bit worried that it might not happen, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, it does.
I am always like a little bit worried, but I try to. I try to. Um, so, we had a book launch for the first book and the second book. I invited like my friends to both of them. That was really nice. And yeah, like when certain things happen, um, yeah, I'll get myself like a little cupcake or something. Be like, yay.
I'm glad you get something. I'm glad you
Just
do
like a
something to
little.
celebrate.
It does come really hard to me. It does come really
Yeah,
hard to
I'm not
me. And
surprised. I'm not surprised though.
oh yeah, I've given too much of myself
No,
away.
no, no. But I mean, if you're constantly that, if your family, if those around, those who shape you aren't celebrating your moments, or not even like encouraging your moments, or not even appreciating why you find joy in your moments, then it will probably have an effect later on about how you choose to celebrate things.
Yeah, it is. It's like one of the things that I'm working on myself now is trying to celebrate my birthday. So my birthday is at the end of August, and when I was growing up, we never celebrated it because my parents would say, we need money for like school uniforms, right? So we don't have any
Oh,
money for your birthday. We don't have time. You're right at the end of August. You're like a week before school starts. We need to figure all this stuff out. So we just never celebrated it. Um, and what I would see is like my sisters and my brother, they would get like big birthday parties for like, turning 10, turning
the
13,
moments. Yeah.
16, 18. Yeah. And I would get nothing. And I'd be like, "Oh no, it's fine, because like it's cool, it's cool." And then when I was about, I think I turned 25, maybe. And my friends were like, "Why are you not celebrating your birthday?" And I was like, "Oh, it's like the school thing." And they were like, "What are you talking about?" And I
Your
was like, "Yeah, it's
prime
like this."
your prime birthday my younger brother's birthday is the 25th of August. And I always used to be not jealous of it, but his is a fun birthday. Mine's end of January. It's freezing cold. No one wants to go anywhere.
Yeah, August
His
is
is this.
wonderful.
You have the bank holiday weekend. It's always around the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah,
It's
mine is
prime
too. Mine
celebration.
is
Yeah.
yeah. So like I just had this thing in my head where I was like, you don't celebrate your birthday because of the school thing. And then obviously I'm 25. I'm not at school anymore.
No,
Like
you're not.
I haven't been at school for a very long time. And I still find it really difficult. But when I turned 29, I took myself on like a solo trip to Italy for like 4 days. And that was so cool. It was like
I
one of the
love it.
coolest things I've done. And I was really nervous and I was really terrified, but then I was also like enjoying it so much. And I had so much gelato, and I kept walking into this gelato shop, and this like old Italian lady wouldn't speak to me. But then I walked up to her once and I was like, "Your gelato is tutto bene." And then she got so excited because I'd speak in some Italian. Um, and it was like great. And so I'm trying to get better at that. I'm trying to get like way better,
Oh,
like actually
that's a
celebrating
good
my
way to
birthday.
go. Gelato in
Yeah.
Italy is a good way to go. All right, Kasim, I'm going to ask you, would you like to tell the listeners about your book, Who Will Remain? And then I've got two questions to ask you following on from that about your book.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Of course. Of course. Of course. So Who Will Remain is It's about this young man called Ahmed who is like 20 years old, second year of university, and the previous summer his girlfriend broke up with him because her family was sort of moving to Edinburgh. And this sort of affects him quite a lot because he thought they were going to get married. They've been together since they were 15. But to her, she's like, we were never going to get married.
Oh
um,
God.
yeah, it's like, but again, it's like, drawn from real life. Like I've seen that happen to a lot of people,
Mm.
men especially. And at the very beginning of the book, his cousin, who is the same age as him, is killed in a gang fight. He's stabbed to death. And so that coupled with the fact that his older brother, who is like the good son, went to university, did philosophy, knows how to speak Urdu, is like has a very good relationship with the parents, he's like getting married to the perfect woman, right? She's Pakistani, she's Muslim, she's from around the area, she's also well educated, has a good job. These three things happen in quick succession. And so then he sort of, in an attempt to wrestle back control in his life, decides that he's going to sell drugs. He's going to get money by doing that because he doesn't have money at the moment and sort of become like a bigger man and become somebody to be respected.
Mm.
And so it's sort of about examining what makes a young man, a specifically young man, make those choices and what happens to the people around him when he does make those choices and the consequences of those sort of start coming down the line. And I wanted to explore like family relationships and like leaving your place, but also not leaving it. And I think like exploring I think there's like a real terror in young men today, and like I think they're all like kind of scared, but they don't show that as fear, they show that as anger and like
Yeah.
violence. um and they just comes out to the people closest to them, and they end up doing like terrible things. And so I wanted to explore all of that too. And so yeah, that's kind of Who Will Remain is about, and it's set in Alum Rock, which is where I'm from, in Birmingham.
Okay. So my two questions about the book are: did you face any challenges when writing your book?
Yeah, the thing is, when you're writing a book like this, you're very aware, or at least I hope you are very aware of the responsibility of like trying to represent your community, right? So you don't
Mm.
want people to think, oh, he's just selling out to like the sort of white understanding of brown people.
Yeah.
All the men are violent, they're terrible people, etc. But then you also kind of want to be truthful, right? You kind of want to be
Mm.
truthful about what is happening in communities like my own and to those young men there and the choices they're making. So you have to try to balance that. And for a while, I was balancing it in a way where I was trying to make it sound as if like nothing was too bad. And so when I was reading it, it was really mild. It was very,
Mm.
you know, bad things would happen, but then, oh no, don't worry about it because everything is good. And it just started to feel so inauthentic to me and started to feel like boring and not real. And I sort of had to like go back and rewrite the whole thing, which I did like 6 times trying to figure it all out, really. Um, about like, this isn't about, I'm not trying to prove to the people who already think that Pakistani men are terrible, that they're not terrible. I'm trying to write something that is truthful about some of the things that young men are going through today. In order to do that, I'm going to have to write something that isn't very nice. I'm going to have to write
Yeah.
something that is kind of ugly and dark sometimes. And, I know that's like a hard it's like a hard thing to do, but I really wanted to. And I don't know. I haven't had much feedback from people in Alum Rock. But maybe one day they'll read it. Maybe when the paperback comes out and it's a bit more accessible price wise, maybe then
Yeah. They'll come.
I might
They'll
hear
come to
back
you.
from them.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I bet you will. Okay. So if you could spend an afternoon with any of your characters, whom would you choose and why?
Oh, I think I would spend an afternoon with Amir's older brother Bilal, because I think he's a little bit. I think he's got, no pun intended, I think he's got really good intentions, but goes about them in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I do to my younger brother. So I think in order to make myself feel better about my relationship with my younger brother, I would go to Bilal and be like, "You are doing a bad job. This is what you need to do. But like, don't look at what I do. Do as I say." So I think I would spend an afternoon with him, and maybe also to kind of, maybe humble him a little bit. I think he's a bit
Yeah.
arrogant, actually. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of humbling. Okay, Kasim, your last questions to end our conversation. Are you an introvert or extrovert or a hybrid of the two?
I think everybody is a hybrid of the two. It's so funny. I was talking about this with my friend the other day. By the other day, I mean like 6 years ago, obviously. But yeah, I think everyone is a little bit of both. You just end up like being weighted on one side, and I think
Yeah.
I am very much like extroverted. I can talk to anybody. I love having a conversation. But then sometimes I will just want to be like, please, nobody talk to me, leave me alone. So like really it just moves from he can move, but I'm a lot more on the conversation side. I'm a lot more like I'm the annoying person at the party who's like talking to everybody and everyone's like, I wish he would just shut up. That's who I am.
Oh, okay. So, what challenge or experience, good or bad, in your life shaped you the most?
I think the challenge of my family, really. I think
Mm,
it's always there, and it's something that I'm still trying to figure out. It's a very hard relationship at times, and I wish it wasn't. And I'm envious of people who like have good relationships with their family, but it's shaped every part of me,
yeah.
from like not celebrating my birthday to not traveling to like the writing I do. I'm deeply obsessed with families and expectations and what we owe each other. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If you could go back to when you're 25 years old and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Apart from celebrate your birthday because you're no longer at school, I would probably tell myself genuinely, this has nothing to do with books, so I'm sorry if this is boring to hear. But I would tell my 25-year-old self, it doesn't matter how much you work out if you're gonna have fast food every day, you have got to learn how to cook better food and like just cook it, my man. What are you doing? I would literally go for a run every day and then have like a Morley's. What am I doing?
Oh, I love a
Ridiculous
Morley's.
behavior. Yeah, but not every day. Not every day. It's like really bad for you.
Morley's is the best. It's better than KFC.
It's just not. It's like literally, and then talk to my friends and be like, I don't know why I'm still fat. Maybe it's the 7 Morleys a week. Maybe. Oh, that's what I would tell
This is the
him.
first time I've had someone answer that question with make better food choices.
Literally just like cook a little better, have some more fiber. Like you're good on the protein. You're having like 10 chicken wings a night, but like have some more fiber, have some more beans. I don't
Have
know,
some
please.
lettuce.
Do you know what I mean? Like literally, bro, come on. Eat an apple.
Yeah. Okay. Kasim, what is your non-writing tip for writers? So always it could
Apart
be
from
eat an apple.
eat an apple. Oh God, eat an apple, everybody, please. We need more fiber. We need more fiber. What is my non-writing tip for writers? I honestly, do you know what? I know it's gonna sound terrible, but I have become a little bit of like an exercise lover recently. It's taken me a very long time. I used to be very big and I used to hate exercise and I used to hate going out and I used to hide away quite a bit. And then I sort of like was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna have to do it, and who cares if anybody laughs at me? And now I find myself like I run like 10K every so often.
Oh
I
God,
go to
I'm not doing that.
yeah,
But
but
well
like
done. Well
no,
done.
but I got past the wall. It took me 5 years, but I got past the wall where like now it's enjoyable and I listen to music and I really love it. And I go to the gym like 2 or 3 times a week. It's not very often at all. I'm not crazy, but it's like really enjoyable.
Yeah.
That is my non-writing tip. I also have like one other one, which is I think more people need to enjoy the gym. So like when I'm at the gym, I do little dance breaks in between lifting weights because everyone is so boring, and I'm just like, yeah, oh, I'm listening to
Have
Doja Cat.
fun.
Oh, she's so fun. And like just today, I went to the gym during lunch, and I was like running on the treadmill, and I was singing some Lady Gaga out loud. And while I was running, because I just think her music is very fun. And this guy was running next to me, and he was so grumpy, and he was like looking over at me, like really annoyed that I was singing. And I just thought, join in. Everyone knows Bad Romance. Join in. It's a great song. Have a bit more fun while you're running on the treadmill. We're both staring at a blank wall. Enjoy yourself, brother. Don't worry about it. That's my non-writing tip.
I think it's the best. That's the best non-writing tips. And finally, Kasim, I don't know, can listeners of the conversation, can they find you online?
They can. I have like a Twitter and an Instagram. I don't use them. That's why I'm like maudlin about them. But if you want to find me being really aggressively loud about book opinions in a way that someone who works in publishing should not be, then follow me on Instagram because uh I'm always having a bit of a complaint on there about books. For example, the Booker shortlist, I'll say this is going into the historical record. Terrible choices have been made, and I think there are only like two good books on there. And Sarah Jessica Parker, what you have done this year to the Booker, you will never be forgiven for it. Never. I say it right now. I say historical records, never be forgiven for it.
Okay, it's timestamp this
Yeah,
moment.
absolutely. And then when you see me talking to her at a party, and I'm like, being all nice and schmoozing, you can come over and be like, can I quickly just play this 20-second for you?
So just right at this moment, right at this precise moment.
Just yeah, Sarah, could you just listen to this real quick?
Well, until that time takes place, I'm going to say, Kasim Ali, thank you so much for joining me for the conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
You do make me laugh. Really
I'm glad.
Thank you so much for watching this Conversation podcast. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you'd like to catch up on more conversations, you'll find them linked on your screen now. And you can also listen to the podcast on your favourite platform. See you there. Bye.